Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Like, comment and subscribe if you enjoy. Without any further interruptions, enjoy the what if. Chapter 7. Can't keep meeting like this, again. Naruto said lazily as he had his hand arm deep inside of one of the cannons, and this time the loser has to go get Nojiko up. I swear I go way too easy on that girl. He pulled his arm out with a groan and worked the kinks out of it. Who lost this time? He asked as he turned around. Johnny pointed at Yosaku, who glowered at his sunglasses-clad friend. Naruto nodded and sat on the deck between them a decent distance off. All right then, you know the rules. First blood wins. And begin. Both men reached for their new swords from their scabbards. Yosaku had a massive 66-inch nodashi with the sheath placed across his back, 23 inches of it handle, 43 inches of it blade. The handle was purple with silver woven into it. The silver weaving had the appearance of waves, and the sheath was plain black with his name in kanji emblazoned on it. Johnny had an uchigatana, curved for swift drawing. It was more closely resembling something that Zoro would use, however Naruto told him that this blade was more suited towards speed and accuracy, more so than Zoro's swords and definitely more so than Yosaku's sword. His handle was golden and the sheath was black with gold coming into it halfway down. There was no particular pattern in it as there were simply silver grooves going horizontally all the way down. Upon hearing Naruto instruct them to begin, Johnny immediately launched himself at Yosaku, drawing his blade in the blink of an eye and slashing at him straight from the draw. Yosaku barely had his sword out in time to block as he felt Yosaku pushing against him. With a growl he shoved hard and threw Johnny off of him, sending him hard against the mast. Yosaku tried to follow up, but as Johnny avoided the strike all he hit was the wood of the mast, cutting into it. Hey, Naruto barked, if you fuck up my ship I'll fuck you up in return. The two ignored him as Yosaku's attempts at striking Johnny didn't really come close to hitting him. Johnny saw many openings that just screamed for him to counter, but he knew that at this point Yosaku was weary enough of his speed attacks to be able to get his nodashi up in time to block. No matter how fast he was moving at this point, he just couldn't swing his own fast enough to hit Johnny. The anger on Yosaku's face was steadily growing as he found himself unable to hit Johnny. He finally overextended on a thrust that left him wide open to Johnny, who wasted no time in lashing out in a counter that Yosaku couldn't recover from, taking a wound on his forearm. And that's match, and your arm. Yosaku, you lose. Naruto said as he stood up. You started off decently enough, but then you fell into old habits and Johnny is adjusting to his new sword faster than you. Therefore you lost your edge early. Yosaku swung out his sword in anger. You said first blood. That favors Johnny. He's faster with his sword than me. Naruto simply stared at Yosaku blankly. Alright Yosaku, I'll show you exactly when you could have won the fight. He summoned Samahata, covered in bandages over his shoulder and motioned to Johnny. Johnny, attack me the way you attacked Yosaku at the start of the fight. Johnny nodded and resheathed his sword before attacking Naruto much the same way that he came at his swordsman partner. Naruto blocked the same way that Yosaku did and pushed Johnny against the mast just like Yosaku did. However, instead of swinging Samahata at him like Yosaku swung his own sword, Naruto dropped the sword low, freeing one hand to pop Johnny in the mouth with a punch. Johnny smashed the back of his head against the mast from the force of the hit and dropped to the ground. Naruto turned around and showed his hand with the blood of Johnny on it to Yosaku. First blood doesn't mean you have to cut someone. First blood can be obtained any way. The point towards the exercise is to show that you had the clear-cut advantage at the time of the stoppage. You were trying to fight like Johnny was. This is what I meant when I told you two to find your own style. You should have been bullying Johnny into positions where he couldn't move around, but you were simply trying to cut him the way he was trying to cut you. That would be next to impossible with your sword and speed the way you are. Naruto picked Johnny up and steadied him, dusting him off apologetically. Johnny, you are naturally faster than Yosaku. Yosaku is stronger. That's why I gave you the swords that I did, because they suit you. He turned to Yosaku. Now go get Nojiko. And be ready to get more than a scratch, because she doesn't play first blood just so you know. Yosaku slumped his shoulders and headed off inside to wake Nojiko as per the conditions of the match. Johnny meanwhile rubbed his mouth and sat down. So how long are you going to keep that guy tied to the front of the ship? Naruto shrugged his shoulders as he walked over to another cannon and stuffed his arm inside it. I don't know, until he stops acting an ass and threatening me maybe. I fed him this morning and the bastard cursed me out. You'd think that he would be friendlier to the guy that controls whether or not he stops being dunked in the water like a teabag. I can't wait until I take him out though. He's probably going to have the skin of an old man after being submerged for so long. Naruto ran over to the front of the boat. Hey, how you doing, Soren? Soren didn't even bother trying to look up as he could tell his blonde tormentor was grinning. Oh, I'm just fine, Uzumaki. Trust me, this is nothing, I can stay here for as long as I have to. Naruto frowned as he leaned on the railing and Johnny walked over to join him. I don't see why you're still so hostile towards me. I mean, how were you even going to collect my bounty anyway as long as you have your own? Wouldn't the Marines try to bust you when you turned in your proof of victory? And besides, I'm offering you a place on my ship. Why would you hunt for bounties when I'm giving you the chance to live and hang with us? Johnny shook his head. I still don't know why you're doing that, Naruto Aniki. He did just try to kill you a few days ago. Naruto spared Johnny a glance before looking back out at the ocean. A lot of people have tried to kill me before. A lot of them end up being pretty close to me afterwards too. Soren scoffed from his place in the water. I don't go after bounties because I need the money. I do it so that I can test myself, you idiot. Sometimes he really cursed his devil fruit powers, and the fact that he spent an absurd amount of time around its clear and blatant weakness. If I can keep beating pirates like you with ever-increasing bounties, then one day I know I'll be ready for the one man I really need to fight and kill. Naruto raised an eyebrow, and that would be. Soren smirked. You really don't need to know that. Because once I'm out of here, if you're lucky, I'll simply be on my way and you'll never see me again. He then turned his head directly up to look at Naruto, and if you're not lucky, well, I'll have to turn you into a puddle before I go about my way. Naruto grinned down at him. Fun. But if I'm going to be your measuring stick for whoever it is you're going to fight, then you've got the wrong guy to measure your own growth against, because you can't beat me. You're about 50 years too late to challenge me at the level you're at. What level do you think I'm at? Soren asked in an amused fashion. I'm dying to know. Naruto shrugged. I don't know. You would have destroyed that Hina lady if I had let you keep fighting her, but then again so would I, and I would have been cooler about it. Speaking of cool, in our little run-in with the Marines, you went kind of nuts back there. Anything you would like to share with your new crew? Soren chuckled. My crew? Huh. Well then, if you're my crew, let me up out of the water. Naruto shook his head. Nope, I'm not going to do that. I can't have you flip out when you get free and melt my ship. I haven't even named it yet, you see. Soren looked around him. Yes, I kind of noticed that you stole a marine ship and repainted it. That takes you up a notch in my book, putting you at notch 1. He sighed to himself. You're really not going to let me up, are you? Naruto gave a thoughtful look. Well, you're kind of a loose cannon from what I've seen. I need to know you won't flip out on my ship for no reason. Your Akuma no Mi powers make that possibility very dangerous, seeing as you can melt the whole thing in just a few seconds. Soren sighed. I'm not going to melt your damn ship. That would place me directly in the water, which would flat out drown me and kill me. Ocean bad. Takes away all of Soren's powers. Remember. Tell me your deal with the Marines and maybe I'll let you up. Naruto gave him a serious look. However, if it's an asinine reason, you can stay down there and keep enjoying your saltwater bath. Fine, Soren grumbled. I hate Marines because when I was a kid there was a particular group of them that got their kicks out of tormenting the weird-looking kid. And I was the weird-looking kid, in case you were wondering. He said, looking up with a deadpan expression. Naruto rolled his eyes. No, really. Go on. Soren mumbled about impatient blonde assholes. Well, this continued on for years until I was finally able to get enough strength to fight back thanks to the Ebi no Mi. So now I do what I have to. And if Marines get in my way, may God have mercy on their souls, because I will not. That's all you're getting out of me, damn it. Naruto frowned. Not all Marines are bad, corrupt people. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Soren said with the utmost seriousness. Marines haven't enforced the power in this world. You might find a few out of how many Marines all over the world that are actually worth a damn, but a few bright spots can't make up for a cancer like that. Tell me you haven't seen a marine or two that just needed to die in order to make the world a better place. Naruto rubbed the back of his neck. Well, you've got me on that one. You sound like some kind of revolutionary or something with the way you're talking. Soren simply looked back out at the ocean. Call me what you want to. I don't really care. The only people worse than those dogs of the world government are those mutts of the world government. One of them in particular, he growled. Naruto was about to question who he was talking about until his danger senses told him to look out, and it was a good thing he did too, because a gunshot intended for his backside was fired at him. Naruto made a yipe noise as the shot hit him in the intended area before he burst into smoke and a log took his place. Nojiko stood with a smoking flintlock pistol and an upset look on her face while Yosaku stood behind her with a somewhat busted-up mug. Got Nojiko Ainu up Naruto and Ikki. Nojiko looked around for Naruto who had disappeared after her shot had missed. She worked hard, trying to keep this ship of idiots going in the proper direction, and the freaky weather of the Grand Line wasn't really helping much at all. There was a hailstorm yesterday, honestly hail. Here, getting awoken by one of the idiots that would be lost and probably dead without her keeping them on track was the last thing that she wanted to have happen today, and hearing that it was all Naruto and Ikki's idea, made her want to find one particular blonde and cause physical bodily harm to him. Where is that idiot so I can shoot him and feel better? She asked testily, and where the hell did he get the log from? We're on a ship. Shooting me in the back without warning Noji-chan, Naruto said as he suddenly appeared at her side, wrapped around her shoulder. I'm starting to rub off on you, I see. And you were too close, I felt you coming before you fired. Try to find the perfect range to hit me off guard at. He was then cracked over the head with the butt of the pistol, like that. He said, rubbing his head. Stupid, Nojiko said as she looked at the log pose strapped to her wrist. Are you keeping us on track? Naruto rolled his eyes. Of course I am. I haven't touched the wheel since you put us towards the right direction. This earned him another shot from the pistol that he dodged by jumping over the side of the ship. What the hell did I do now? Nojiko stomped up to the wheel and began to turn it the right way according to the log pose. You don't just let the wheel sit, you dumbass. It will turn on its own that way and we don't want that. You have to make sure that we're not being taken off course by the flow of the ocean, the wind, all kind of things. What kind of captain are you? Naruto grinned at her while hanging from the banister. A sexy captain. Do you want to feel sexy with the captain too, Noji-chan? Once again he was forced to dodge another shot by dropping down and sticking to the side of the ship with chakra. I'm starting to think that giving her guns wasn't such a good idea. Having some trouble with the pretty lady Uzumaki, Soren said, grinning at Naruto's current predicament with Nojiko. Nah, Naruto assured him, this is just how we play. Naruto dodged another gunshot as Nojiko leaned over the side to shoot at him. As you can clearly see, she likes to play a little rough, but I'm okay with that. Get up here and let me yell at you for being stupid. How I even thought that going with you out here was a good idea is beyond me at this point. I swear, you're going to get us all killed. Here I am, trying to set our route, and you keep getting us lost. How are we going to get anywhere around here? Nojiko griped from up top, shaking her pistol at him. Naruto sighed contentedly as he stayed stuck to the side of the ship. Yep, she's absolutely crazy about me. Soren's sweat dropped. Yeah, I'm sure. I can just feel the love from here. XXX as the sun began basking them in its warm setting glow, the ship trudged along in a cove. Where the hell are we now, Noji-chan? Naruto said irritably from the front of the ship, looking as they pulled into an area with weird-looking mountains. Why the hell do these mountains look like cactuses? Soren yelled up from his place tied to the front of the ship. We're at Cactus Island. A smirk was firmly planted on his face. You guys are going to love it here, I'm sure. He said somewhat forebodingly. Nojiko ran from inside up to where Naruto was standing. I hope so, since we have to stay until the log pose resets. Naruto walked up to her and watched as she marked down their path that had been taken on her map. So how long do you think that would take? Nojiko shrugged. I'm not sure. You know how long it took for us to get a reading in the first place, remember? It could be hours or days. Either way we need to go ashore for a bit. All right then, Naruto said, not having any real problems with that. Can you help me out and go tell the guys to get ready to go back on land? Nojiko raised a questioning brow. You really aren't afraid of getting off this ship and going anywhere in the Grand Line, are you? Getting a grin from Naruto as her clear-cut response on the matter. Hey, Soren yelled indignantly, what about me, you bastard? I've been down here for 5 goddamn days already. Let me up. Naruto stroked his chin in thought. No. You're still on punishment for having psychotic tendencies. Oh come on, Soren said indignantly, there aren't even any Marines here. I promise I won't fly off the handle and go on a killing spree, okay? Just let me out of here already, I'm totally waterlogged and these ropes are chafing. Naruto turned to Nojiko, should I let him up? I mean, he has been a good boy lately, and I'm trying to be a benevolent captain, and I don't think drifting into town with some random guy strapped to the front of the ship would go over too well with the locals. Nojiko looked over the ship at Soren, who was looking up at her with his version of puppy dog eyes before turning back to Naruto. Can you beat him again if he does decide to lose his sense and do something stupid while we're here? Coming in on our ship does make him our responsibility, you know. Naruto picked at his ear. Oh hell yes. Not a damn thing has changed since the first time we fought, except that I've had him soaked in seawater for most of the week, thus making him far weaker than he would be otherwise. Naruto looked over the edge at Soren. Besides, Mr. Acid Pants will behave, won't he? Otherwise I'll have to uncork this beating of a lifetime on him. Soren's eye twitched. You are so lucky that threatening your life right now would leave me tied to the front of your stupid ship. Naruto cupped his ear at Soren. What was that? I can't hear you over the sounds of the waves crashing against the ship. Did you say, please leave me down here, Uzumaki-sama? I love tasting nothing but saltwater for 5 days and 5 nights. Well, if you insist. Soren paled. Okay, alright, I'll be civil, just let me up, damn it. Naruto smirked and looked at Nojiko, who simply went off to get her things for the landing. Yeah sure, okay, go ahead and let him up, Naruto-kun. I'm going to get some guns and ammo in case you attract some more trouble while we're here. As he went over the side of the ship to untie Soren, he responded to the girl, I don't attract anything, Noji-chan. Trouble gravitates towards me. There's a difference. What possible difference could there be? Her voice sounded out from topside. Naruto started undoing Soren's ropes. If I attracted trouble, I would be hooked into doing things without having any control over the situation. When things gravitate towards me, I can choose whether or not to get involved or just let it pass on by. It just so happens that more often than not I choose to get involved. Because you're retarded, Soren said as Naruto finished freeing him. Naruto gave him a short glare. I can still just let go of you and watch you sink to the bottom of the sea like a rock, you know. At that point Naruto looked ahead to where the ship was heading in order to stay put for them all to go ashore. Oh no way. XXX. Naruto Aniki, what the hell is going on? Yosaku asked as the entire crew, plus Soren, walked through the throngs of people waiting for them and celebrating them as they got off of the ship and got onto dry land. Naruto scratched his head. I honestly haven't the faintest idea. I'm not exactly well versed on how people normally do things. He saw banners and signs and heard people cheering pirates. Don't people usually hate and fear pirates? And how the hell do they know that about us? We don't even have a Jolly Roger. Nojiko nudged his arm. I thought you said you weren't a pirate. Naruto shrugged. There are far worse things to be called in this world than a pirate. And the more I've denied it, the more I've been called out for being one. Thus I have decided that going with the flow on this one would be the best course of action, and it seems to be working out just swimmingly so far. Soon enough they were greeted by a large man with a strange colonial wig look for his hair, who was for some reason holding a saxophone. I am Agarapoi, the mayor of this village. Welcome to Whiskey Peak, the town of music and liquor. You're the second pirate crew to arrive here today, and we'd like to ask you to join the same festivities that we plan to throw for them. Naruto deadpanned. Is the first crew comprised of a guy with 3 swords, a guy with blonde hair and weird eyebrows, a guy with a long nose, a hot girl with orange hair, and a spaz kid with a scar under his eye and a straw hat? Agarapoi blinked at Naruto. Yes. How did you know that? Everyone else stared at Naruto, who pointed out in the water where the Going Merry was situated. How many other ships have that damn sheep thing as its figurehead? He moved past the mayor. Okay then, let's go pop in and say hey to everybody. Naruto led everyone to a tavern that sounded very lively and kicked the front door open, attracting all eyes to them. where are my lovable strafud idiots? Soren tapped Yosaku on his shoulder. Who are his lovable strafud idiots? Johnny and Yosaku turned around. The sunglasses-wearing member of the duo grinned. We'll introduce you right after we get a few drinks in us. It's party time. Nojiko looked around the tavern with her eyes stopping on her target, Nami. What are you doing drinking like that? She immediately made her way over to her sister who was engaged in a contest of the alcoholic variety, her opponent just falling out as she reached her side. Nami lowered her mug and stared in disbelief. Nojiko. What are you doing here? Why are you on the Grand Line? Nojiko pointed back at Naruto who was currently amusing himself poking an expanded Luffy who was gorging himself on plates and plates of food brought out by the chefs. I left Kami Island with Naruto-kun and he decided that he wanted to see all of the weird stuff that he kept hearing was out here, so now here we are. We almost ran into you at Logatown, by the way. Nami blinked at her. You went through Reverse Mountain. Nojiko glowered. No, Naruto-kun distracted me and let us get off course enough that we ended up in the Calm Belt, and we got through that way. You went through the Calm Belt and you're alive. Nami shouted at her blue-haired sister. How did you pull that off? Nojiko grinned. Naruto-kun took a discarded marine ship when he left the island. Apparently they're equipped to handle the sea kings that are all over the place. He can make his own wind current too. Nodding at the story, Nami turned back to where Naruto was fighting with Luffy over a plate of meat. Naruto-kun. My guess is 24. Naruto was distracted by this, allowing Luffy to snatch the plate away and shovel the food down his throat. No. Try again, Nami-chan. Nami smiled and threw an arm around her shoulder. Well, my older sister is following me into the Grand Line. That's something to celebrate. As she said this, 2 mugs were placed in front of them both. Drink up. Nojiko looked at the beverage nervously. I don't know. Nami gestured around her. Come on, Nojiko. It's a celebration. Everything will be fine. Nojiko grabbed the mug tentatively. Well, okay, XXX. 4 hours later, Johnny and Yosaku were currently attempting to match Zoro in his liquor feed contests against other patrons of the tavern and were failing miserably to do so. Usopp was telling lies about how he braved the Calm Belt and killed a Sea King. And Sanji was surrounded by a massive amount of women that were fawning over him. Soren walked over to Sanji in the midst of his heaven on earth. Hey man, how's that itching you were telling me about? It still isn't raw and everything down there, right? I said you should go to doctor but you never listened to me. Upon hearing this, the women scooted away from Sanji with a wary look. Sanji sputtered in disbelief before turning to glare at Soren. I hate you. Soren was grinning widely with his sharp canines. I'm Soren. Naruto was still sitting next to Luffy, marveling about how much he could eat. There was only one thing that Naruto was willing to gorge on that much. Speaking of which, Naruto summoned one of the chefs that were feeding Luffy. Hey, do you guys think you could stop throwing things down into the bottomless pit here and get me a few bowls of ramen? The chef stared at him. Ramen? I'm sorry, sir. I don't think I've ever heard of this, ramen, before. Naruto slammed his forehead into the table hard enough to crack it and pulled it up with tears streaming down his face. Damn this place. Damn the open seas to hell. What kind of miserable, kami forsaken, blasphemous, heathenous barbarians are the lot of you? Where the hell can I get some ramen in this world? It stopped being funny 3 months ago. He was interrupted from his rant and potential destruction of the entire building when an inebriated Nojiko sidled up to him with a blush on her face and an empty mug in her hand. You want to know something, Naruto-kun? She slurred to him. Naruto looked at her, noticing how out of her gourd she was at the moment before he looked at Nami, who was still drinking grown men under the table. Geez, I can see they're not blood-related based off of pure alcohol tolerance alone, kami woman. He noticed Nojiko getting closer and closer to him. Enlighten me, Noji-chan. You're really stupid, she said, poking him in the chest. So I've been told explicitly and repeatedly for years and years and years. Naruto said with an amused look on his face. Naruto-kun. 17. Naruto looked over at Nami. No, Nami-chan, keep trying. He then felt Nojiko place her head on his chest. Are you okay, Nojiko? No, Nojiko said. He could have figured that, though the fact that she stayed conscious after 4 hours of drinking was still remarkable for a normal woman. But she continued to speak. the whole entire reason I came on this trip in the first place is starting to look like some kind of impossible delusion or something. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Hey, why did you come with me in the first place? You were never clear on the reason. Johnny and Yosaku came because they want to get strong. Soren's here because I tied him to the ship and made him go with us. I'm here because I'm bored with life. Why are you here? If this was some big secret, hopefully she was smashed enough to be loose-lipped on the reason. Alcohol. The safecracker for all of your mental secrets. She lifted her head off of his chest and looked him in his eyes with a half-lidded gaze. You big dummy. Me? Naruto asked. You're here because of me. Yes. Nojiko said, sighing as she snuggled back into the warmth of Naruto's chest while ignoring the still-going sounds of the Whiskey Peak partygoers. You are an incredibly strange man. You sometimes seem to have the power to end all existence at naught but a whim, and yet you seem so out of character for someone like that. You treat Johnny and Yosaku as if you weren't superior to them. You have a sense of morality that you do a bad job of trying to hide, even back when you said it's because it was more fun to be a good guy than a bad guy, liar. But you have an attracting quality to you that I couldn't ignore, and that I wouldn't just let leave my home never to return. We all know that if I hadn't come with you, you would have never come back to Kokoyashi village again. Naruto looked at her apologetically. It's kind of better that way, Noji-chan. There are a lot of things about me that you don't know. Some of which you would never believe, some of which you would never understand. You have no idea, none of you do. So tell me then, she asked, stroking his whisker marks. He could tell where this was going, and every moral fiber in his being was telling him to stop her, that it wasn't right to have this happen while she was like this, but he simply couldn't bring himself to do it. Talk to me. I came to get to know you better. You're interesting, Naruto-kun. I want to be close to you. We are close. Naruto tried to reason. What the hell was wrong with him? There was a hot girl, currently crushing on him, that had just made to sit in his lap and was apparently dying to make out with him, and he was trying to talk her out of it. If Jiraiya was alive he would have backhanded him with a studded leather glove on for that. You are one of my precious people, Nojiko. I would do pretty much anything for you. Nojiko smiled. I want to be closer. Can you do that for me? She moved her face closer to his. Maybe, he said, doing absolutely nothing to stop her. Hey, she was a big girl. If she wanted to mac with him in the middle of a tavern, then who was he to question her adult decision? After all, this feeling didn't just come from nowhere. At least some part of her wanted it, right? Alcohol just pushed that feeling to the forefront. Nojiko traced his jawline with kisses as she moved towards his mouth. Once more Naruto did nothing to bring the proceedings to a close, allowing her to finally meet her lips with his. Quickly letting Nojiko take control of the situation as she was pushing to do anyway, he allowed her tongue entry to his mouth, and noted that her tasting of alcohol did absolutely nothing to make this seem any less pleasant. Naruto decided to break them apart to make a smart remark about the situation, but noticed that Nojiko had passed out right after they broke away. He smiled down at her and stood up to find somewhere to put her for the night. Even if she doesn't remember this tomorrow, she's going to have one hell of a headache. As Naruto came back into the main area after putting Nojiko in a bed upstairs, he sweat-dropped at seeing Luffy, Sanji, Usopp, Johnny and Yosaku unconscious on the ground and by themselves. He idly wondered where Zoro and Nami were, but decided that wherever they were was better than passed out on the floor. At that time he decided to only deal with the people he had the responsibility of watching over. Wake up, Naruto said, kicking at the two swordsmen on the ground. I swear, I gave Noji-chan the benefit of the doubt when it came to blacking out because she never drinks, ever. But you two, get your asses up. Don't sleep like that when you're hammered. You'll die choking on puke. Naruto looked around as the two grumbled and sat up. Where did all the villagers go? Johnny and Yosaku blinked and looked at each other. We don't know. But where's Zoro and Ikki? Naruto shrugged before a voice came from behind the bar. Zoro's out dealing with our little problem at the moment. Naruto walked over and saw Soren sitting down behind the bar with a bottle in his hand. What the hell are you doing back here? And what problem are you talking about? Soren shrugged and took a swig of what was in his hand. I'm back here because I didn't feel like fake passing out like the fake samurai or the orange-haired tart in order to get everyone to go away, so I just slipped back here and decided to get smashed while I waited for you to stop inspecting Nojiko's tonsils. And the problem I'm talking about is the ton of bounty hunters that have knocked out most of the strafuts with food and drink and are planning to turn everyone in for their bounties. What? Was Naruto's intelligent reply. Soren stood up wobbly with a groan. Whiskey Peak is kind of famous with experienced bounty hunters on the Grand Line. The place that captures pirates starting on their way and turns them in. That's what they're going to do to you, Mr. 55 million. They can try. Naruto scoffed. And anyway, why the hell didn't you tell us this when you told us where we were, Baldy? Soren grinned and steadied himself on the bar. It may have had something to do with me having saltwater soaked into my brain for the better part of a week. Or maybe it just slipped my mind. Anyway, I'm totally useless right now. I'm completely and utterly buggered. I got too sauced trying to increase the amount of fluids in my system the fun way while waiting, so even if we do end up fighting, all I'll be able to do is watch the room spin and puke, though the puke would probably end up eating through whatever it landed on as if it were made of toilet paper. Naruto sighed. Just go get the boat ready so we can get out of here before things get any worse. Johnny, Yosaku, go help Zoro. I'm going to get Noji-chan and maybe find Nami-chan if I can. What about them? Yosaku asked, gesturing towards the unconscious other members of the Strafut crew. Naruto started walking away, heading upstairs. They're fine. XXX. Johnny and Yosaku came upon Zoro having the time of his life as he climbed up the side of a building with a huge grin on his face after knocking out a kid with a gun and a nun that tried to use a corrosive gas on his eyes. Apparently facing down a town full of bounty hunters was his idea of a good time. As the bounty hunters climbed up the ladder he used after him, Zoro tipped it over in delight, sending them all falling back to the ground. Johnny and Yosaku looked at each other with Yosaku's hand creeping towards the sword on his back. Should we jump in? Johnny's hand moved towards his own blade down by his waist. Well, Naruto and Ikki did tell us to go help Zoro and Ikki. With a grin, the two men jumped directly into the fray of bounty hunters who were shooting at Zoro as he hopped between buildings. Zoro was still making a mockery of everyone he was coming across until he ended up being pinned down by a large dark-skinned woman that had on brass knuckles. The following punch was enough to crack the ground beneath him and send blood pouring down his face. Upon seeing this, the bounty hunters smirked, thinking that Zoro was finally defeated. Johnny and Yosaku shrugged and continued cutting through the sidetracked enemies. Agarapoi was confused by the pair's nonchalant attitude at seeing one of their own taken down. Why are you two still fighting? There are still way more of us than you, and one of your most powerful fighters was just taken down. That wasn't enough to beat Zoro and Ikki, you idiot. Johnny snapped as he dodged gunfire before cutting down 3 of the shooters. That wouldn't have even beaten one of us. A shout of pain attracted attention to where Zoro had the large woman's face palmed in his hand. See? Zoro held her up with one hand in a claw hold. What happened to all of that strength of yours? You got enough of punching me in the face. He released the woman's face, revealing that the pressure of the squeeze had rendered her unconscious. Miss Monday loses. What is this, some kind of joke? Zoro licked away the blood falling from his face. Are we going to keep going? Baroque Works. I'm kind of tired of playing with you lightweights. That info from the Marines must be wrong. This has to be the guy that's worth all that money. There's no way that stupid kid in the hat could be stronger than this. Think we should jump in again, Yosaku? Johnny asked as they disposed of the last of the no-names. Nah, Yosaku responded as he leaned against a building. Zoro and Ikki's got this. Yo Zoro, Naruto said as he walked through the crowd of the remaining members. Mr. 8, or Agarapoi, the mayor of the town. Mr. 9, a man with orange hair, facial markings and a king's crown. And Miss Wednesday, a woman with blue hair pulled back in a ponytail. Eventually he turned around, standing by Zoro's side, having fun. Zoro smirked. Not really. Other than getting to test out the swords I bought in Logatown, this hasn't really done much for me. You. Naruto grinned. I got to make out with Nojiko. Who cares if she doesn't remember it in the morning? I will, and that's all that matters. Now who the hell are these clowns? Baroque Works. Zoro started. They're after the 20 million belly bounty. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Why would they want that one? I'm worth 55 million. Shouldn't they be trying to slip a knife into my ribs instead? And why are they fighting you? Luffy's blacked out in the tavern, he ain't getting up anytime soon. Zoro grinned. They think it's a typo and I'm the captain. Fun. Naruto said in reply. Enough. Miss Wednesday said as she sat atop a giant duck, let's show these guys their place. The duck quacked in response, who told you to sit down? She yelled when it did just as she stated and sat down. Naruto and Zoro sweat-dropped at the display. Is this for real? Zoro asked. I'm not sure, but I'll be damned if it's not mildly entertaining. Naruto said with his arms crossed across his chest. Paying attention to others will get you killed, yelled Mr. 9 as he jumped off of a rooftop, smashing a steel bat into Zoro's sword who lifted it in defense. You might break your swords blocking like that. These things are made of steel, you know. Zoro sighed and put up only one sword as Mr. 9 swung away at him. Is that all you can do? He blocked one more strike and swung his arm away, sending the man flying. That was way too easy. Naruto rolled his eyes. I thought people were supposed to be strong on the Grand Line. If this is the best they've got, I might as well have stayed in the East Blue. Running amok there for all this trip has been worth so far. Zoro nodded in agreement. Isn't there anyone that takes this seriously? I do. Get ready to die, boys, called Miss Wednesday standing atop the duck. Look at my body carefully. Naruto grinned. No problems there. Miwaku no Memai dance, captivating dizziness dance, Vivi danced, trying to disorient the two with the spirals on her dress. I so wish I had a camera right now, Naruto said, not particularly focusing on her clothing at the time as he was making a valiant attempt to burn this vision into the back of his mind for life. He saw Zoro fall to his knees and turned his attention to him. What are you, gay? Get up and stare at this woman dance right now, damn you. Taking their distraction as an opportunity, she placed a sharpened jewel on a wire around her finger and spun it rapidly. Let's finish this, Karu. Peacock Slasher. The duck let out a quack as it charged Naruto and Zoro, however it missed them both by a mile and charged right past. Where are you going? She yelled at her duck as it ran off into the distance. I'm going to fall off. Naruto let out anime tears at seeing her run off. No, hot, bad guy lady girl, run away, come back. Zoro shook his head in pity. For some reason I'm really mad at myself for bothering to fight with these people. Agarapapa. Naruto and Zoro scattered as a burst of gunfire ricocheted where they once stood. The mayor had guns hide themselves once more in his curls. I'll show you all our real abilities. Zoro growled from behind the cover of a building. That gun of his is really going to be troublesome to get to. Naruto appeared, standing on the wall right above him. Noji-chan is a better shot than he is. Mr. 8 all of a sudden burst from a pile of rubble, flying bat. The top of his bat flew off attached to a rope and wrapped around Zoro's arm. Got you. Naruto pointed lamely from his spot on the wall. Zoro, you've got a little something there. Zoro looked up at Naruto with a glare. I noticed. He tugged on the rope and frowned. Steel rope. Mr. 9 laughed loudly. You can't get free now. Get him, Mr. 8. That's right, Miss Wednesday said. If you move, your sleeping friend here will just have to die. She had a dagger pointed at a sleeping Luffy, still bloated from his meal earlier. Naruto looked over at Luffy dryly. And you follow this guy because? Zoro palmed his forehead. It was a vow on my honor. Prepare to fire. Mr. 8 shouted as he readied his guns from his curls, firing them at Zoro. Good luck with that, Naruto said as he shunshined away from the line of fire. Thanks a lot, you rat bastard. Zoro took action and pulled hard on the rope on his arm, dragging Mr. 9 right into the path, taking the hit for him as he slung the crowned man at Miss Wednesday, knocking her and her duck Karu flat. What? Mr. 8 said in disbelief as he watched the results of his attempted attack. I think we call that a victory where I come from. Mr. 8 turned around to see Naruto with his fist cocked back before all he saw from that point forward were stars. Now where did my two half-witted apprentices go? XXX Johnny and Yosaku finished off the rest of the nameless bounty hunters with matching grins on their faces. Well, at least we know we're better than a bunch of these guys, Yosaku said as he sheathed his sword. Johnny nodded in agreement as a disinterested voice rang out. Another boring assignment. Taking care of the weaklings here shouldn't be our job at all. Johnny placed his hand back on his blade as he and Yosaku turned to face them. Who are you two? Mr. 5, said a dark-skinned man with wild black hair, a brown trenchcoat with a pink scarf, a pair of sunglasses, and the number 5 on the left chest of his coat. Miss Valentine, was the response from a woman with short blonde hair and bright green eyes. She had on a yellow hat that was rimmed with orange, and a yellow dress with a lemon pattern, lemon earrings, and white high-heeled shoes. Over her shoulder was a green umbrella with blue stripes. XXX Naruto sighed and looked down as Zoro was drinking a random bottle of liquor, taking in the night scenery. Did you have to knock out the hot girl Zoro? I wanted her to dance some more, he said, almost pouting at the situation. Soren came up from behind in the shadows. Wow. You guys sure had some fun here, didn't you? He asked after seeing the amount of bodies strewn about the area. Naruto walked over to Soren. The ship is ready to roll at any time. Soren nodded. Yeah, turned the right way and everything. Do you know how hard it was to move that damn thing by myself? Drunk. Next time send the other two. Naruto shook his head. No way in hell. They're drunk too, and even if they were sober they would have sunken the damn thing just trying to unfurl the mainsail. Naruto noticed that Mr. 8 and Miss Wednesday were waking up. Man, they can take a hit. Naruto and Ikki, Johnny and Yosaku yelled as they jumped up and appeared at his side in a blur. What you guys? Naruto asked. They both pointed off where they found two people walking up. Mr. 8 noticed immediately who they were. Mr. 5. Miss Valentine. Naruto smirked. Miss Valentine. Another hot woman. I must be some kind of lucky tonight or something. Mr. 5 looked down on Mr. 8 and Miss Wednesday. You two should be ashamed of yourselves. Losing like that. Miss Valentine let out a laugh. That's the difference between weaklings like you and us. Mr. 8 grit his teeth. You came here to laugh at us, did you? Not quite. Mr. 5 responded. We came here because it's our duty. You shouldn't ask us that. Mr. 8 smirked. That's fantastic. With your abilities those swordsmen and that blonde boy can be defeated. Mr. 5 sneered down at his fallen form. What the hell are you babbling about now? You think we came all the way to the Grand Line just to help you here? It's supposed to be a punishment, so the boss sent us. The boss said that, someone knows my secret, and I don't know how much this person knows. But our company's principle is that everything must remain a secret. No one must know about each other's past or even an identity. The person that knows the boss's identity shouldn't be allowed to live. Miss Valentine took over. After we investigated the case, we found out that there is someone in Baroque Works from a particular country sneaking into our little group. Mr. 8 was sweating bullets at this point, so they finally know the truth. Naruto looked down as he took the bottle from Zoro and took a swig for himself. Oh man, this is some quality random bad guy theater. Zoro nodded as he took the bottle back. I need to get Luffy out of there somehow. Mr. 5 smirked. The traitors are people that mysteriously disappeared from Alabasta. At that point, Mr. 8 snapped and jumped up, activating his gun curls, firing at Mr. 5. Miss Wednesday cried out in alarm, Agarum. He turned back frantically. Please get away now. That's not going to work. Miss Valentine giggled before smashing Miss Wednesday in the head with a kick, breaking the piece holding her hair in its ponytail before pulling out her umbrella and floating back up into the air, laughing the entire time. As Miss Wednesday looked up angrily, a garum was thrown at her feet, smoking. Mr. 5 came walking closer as Miss Valentine landed at his side. The traitors are Agarum, the leader of the Royal Guard of Alabasta, and the Princess of Alabasta, Nefertari Vivi. Mr. 8 bowed down. Miss Wednesday is a princess. Stop doing stupid things, she barked at him. Zoro took advantage of the confusion and pulled Luffy out of the crossfire quickly. Mr. 5 picked his nose. Boss ordered us to get rid of you both. As Vivi readied herself to fight, Mr. 9 took a stance in front of her with both of his bats at the ready. I don't really know what's going on here, but for as long as we've been partners and friends I have to help you. Please hurry and get out of here. He then tumbled towards Mr. 5 with his bats drawn back to strike, double ultimate bat. The mission is the most important thing. Mr. 5 stated before he pulled a booger from his nose. Friendship is a stupid thing that gets you killed, as you're about to find out. He flicked his booger at the charging Mr. 9, blowing the man sky high as it detonated upon contact. Naruto and Zoro stared at the scene. That's one dangerous booger. Zoro remarked absently. A firm grasp was latched on his leg. Hey, what are you doing? Agaram looked up at him weakly. You are all very strong people, and due to that I have a request to ask of you. I need you to protect the princess. I cannot myself due to the enemy's power from the Akuma no Mi. All right, Naruto said before Zoro could answer for himself. What? Zoro nearly yelled. Why are you going to get involved in this? Naruto picked at his ear. Because I'm bored, and you stole all of the fights. He then turned to where Vivi was riding off on Karu, and besides, she danced for me. He narrowed his eyes as he saw Mr. 5 and Miss Valentine preparing to take off after her. Please, Agaram pleaded, protect the princess. If you can get her to the kingdom of Alabasta we will reward you handsomely. A great prize. Is that really true? Nami said, appearing suddenly between them, utterly shocking the hell out of Zoro and even Naruto. That's pretty interesting. How about 1 billion belly? Agaram freaked out at Nami's negotiating. Naruto pointed at her in shock. Are you a ninja? Because nobody ever gets the drop on me like that. Zoro looked at her. Didn't you get drunk and black out? Nami smiled at him. There's no way I'm going to sleep in a town that throws random parties for pirates. I faked it the entire time. Naruto grinned. Nojiko sure didn't. Nami and he shared a laugh at that for the moment. Nami turned her attention back to Agaram. So are you going to pay me that 1 billion belly? If we don't help your princess will be dead for sure. Naruto's grin dropped as he started walking off in the direction of Vivi's retreat. She's not going to die whether he pays you or not. Nami turned towards him in surprise. Naruto-kun, what are you doing? He didn't even turn back as he walked along with his hands in his pockets. I'm not just going to sit here when I feel something bad going on and I actually have the power to stop it. To just lay back and watch horrible things happen just because they don't concern me. I don't want to turn into some kind of despicable guy that would do something like that. Nami watched as he walked off. Naruto-kun. She yelled to him. 34. Nope. 3 strikes and you're out. Try again next time, Nami-chan. He said before disappearing in a swirl of leaves. Nami sat staring before turning around. Well, go and help him, Zoro. We can negotiate with the princess after he saves her. Why the hell do I have to do? Zoro snapped back. If you want to do that, why don't you go by yourself? Why do I have to help you get the money? While Zoro and Nami were arguing about the situation, Luffy woke up needing to head to the bathroom. Nami turned around confidently. Have you forgotten that you still owe me 200,000 belly that you have to pay back with 3 times the interest? Zoro started sweating. I don't actually have to pay that back, right? Nami looked at him sadly. You can't even keep one promise. Hitting Zoro right in a nerve. If you do this, consider this a wash on the debt. Zoro gnashed his teeth and stomped off after Naruto's Shunshin, grumbling curses at Nami the entire way. She looked down at the fallen Agaram reassuringly. Don't worry about it. Both of those guys are really strong. XXX Mr. 5 had just disposed of Miss Monday with an exploding lariat. I can turn any part of my body into an explosive. You won't get away, Nefertari Vivi. He flicked another booger at her that was split in half by a shuriken that sent it to both sides around Vivi before it exploded, keeping her safe. Man, I've still got it. Naruto said as he appeared in front of the girl in a puff of smoke. Mr. Whiskers, Vivi said in surprise at seeing him, forcing Naruto to face fault. Naruto stood up and turned around angrily, giving her a look with his eyes closed. Whiskers. Mr. Whiskers. Not red coat guy, not spiky, not sexy Captain Man, hell not even Blondie, but Mr. Whiskers. I'm not a goddamn cat woman. Vivi put on an angry face. Why do you have to show up right now? She pulled out her peacock slasher and made to attack Naruto but let it stop spinning when he started radiating killing intent that made her choke slightly. He turned back to the 2 members of Baroque Works with a serious look. Calm down, I'm here to keep you safe. Mr. 5 crossed his arms as he looked at the blonde man standing in front of him. So you're the one that destroyed this town? Naruto shook his head. Nope, that was all Zoro and my boys. I was going to scold them for not fighting you. But after seeing what you can do with a damn booger, I have to say, it's probably better that they didn't try. I would like to see how they would do against someone like you, but don't need to piece them back together yet either. Why would you want to protect the princess of a country that isn't yours? Mr. 5 asked. Naruto shrugged. She danced for me. He finished with a smile. Mr. 5 smirked. It doesn't matter, you don't seem all that strong to me. You're just another worthless obstacle just like all the rest. Miss Valentine pulled off her hat, smiling widely at Naruto. That's right. You're a cute obstacle, but an obstacle nonetheless. And you'll be crushed on the ground by my power. Boom. What the hell was that? Naruto asked as he turned around to see what the ruckus was before sweet-dropping. Oi. What the hell is this? Naruto saw Zoro and Luffy fighting and messing up even more property for no foreseeable reason. Naruto rolled his eyes and returned his attention back to Mr. 5 and Miss Valentine. Okay, while those two are doing that, I'll be kicking your asses, that is if you don't just leave right now. Miss Valentine laughed at his tone. Feel free to try, she said before Naruto appeared between both of them and thrust out both of his arms, smashing them into adjacent buildings. Naruto had his head lowered with a dark expression. Well, since you asked me so nicely, I guess I'm obligated to actually follow through on that little threat of mine. Too bad for you, but could you at least stay alive long enough to make me work? It is 2-on-1 after all. Mr. 5 pulled himself out of the rubble of the destroyed wall that Naruto sent him into. You're really in a hurry to die, aren't you? Naruto's grin turned on him. You're not going to quit. That makes this so much better. He saw Miss Valentine do the same before jumping in the air. Naruto squinted and smirked as he looked up. Nice view. Miss Valentine blushed and looked down angrily. Now it's really time for you to die. With the power of Kilo no Mi, Kilo fruit, I'll crush you like an ant under the weight of 10,000 kilograms, 22,046.23 pounds. That's a lot of weight. Naruto said vacantly. You're going to want to move, princess. Crash. Stop fighting, you idiots. You could wake the dead with that crap. Naruto yelled over at Luffy and Zoro, who were still duking it out. The shadow of Miss Valentine appeared over him. Oh yeah, I'm about to get squished. We're going to die, Vivi shouted as she covered her head. Naruto scoffed and pulled Vivi to his side as he ran through one-handed hand seals just as Miss Valentine collided with the ground, kicking up a huge amount of dust and making a massive crater. She floated off of her point of impact to reveal two smashed logs in place of Naruto and Vivi. What? Where did they go? Yo, is this your shit? Miss Valentine turned around to see Naruto clutching Mr. 5's collar in his hand. His sunglasses were broken and he was missing a few teeth along with his broken nose and swollen jaw. Naruto tossed his lifeless body down at her side and dusted off his hands. Vivi stood behind him, watching Naruto handle the Baroque Works member with his bare hands after seemingly teleporting them out of harm's way in the blink of an eye. What did you do to him? Miss Valentine asked warily. She wasn't much for fighting on her own. While Mr. 5 would keep opponents off guard with his bomb attacks, she would float over the battlefield waiting for an opening to finish. Fighting alone was not necessarily her forte. However, she wasn't going to give up without a fight and jumped into the air once more. Naruto rolled his eyes and jumped into the air once he saw her at the apex of her jump just as she was beginning to fall. Naruto air hiked off of her face, taking advantage of her near weightlessness and tilting her backwards just as she put her weight back on, 10,000 kilograms falling on your head. I wonder what that would feel like, he said as he latched around her body for a piledriver, holding her in place as they both fell back down to the ground with a tremendous crash. Naruto let go of her, noticing that she was still breathing, but was out cold. You lowered your weight when I first latched onto you, but my collective weight and yours was still good enough to take you out. Naruto's eyes darted behind him and he picked Miss Valentine up before the area he was standing at was rocked with an explosion. What the hell was that supposed to be? Your partner was right there. Naruto growled out, forcing the reawakened Mr. 5 to turn back to where Vivi was. He set Miss Valentine down and turned back to Mr. 5 with an angry face. When I dodged, she was going to take the hit instead. That would have killed her. She's defenseless. Mr. 5 spit blood on the ground. So what? She knows that the mission is more important than her life. You act as if I should be concerned for her. If she could move, that would be great, but if she died from the attack, I'd get a replacement partner. Naruto cracked his knuckles. How about I replace you? Mr. 5 chuckled. You got 2 lucky shots in. Touch me again and see how well that goes for you. Naruto grinned fairly. Challenge accepted. K's no Yaiba, Blade of Wind. The air around Naruto's hand began to shimmer as he ran towards Mr. 5 far slower than usual, making a show out of his forthcoming attack. Mr. 5 prepared himself to counter. The second his hand makes contact with me, I'll blow whatever he touches to Kingdom Come. He won't get up from that. His entire plan was to detonate himself the moment Naruto touched him, since the explosion wouldn't harm him. As Naruto drew closer he prepared himself, but before Naruto was anywhere near punching range he swung his hand out. Mr. 5 thought he was nearsighted or something, until a warm feeling ran down his torso. He looked down and saw a deep gash in his chest bleeding profusely, but how? Naruto smirked as he let the wind jutsu around his hand die. With that attack I don't need to touch you to kill you. 5 feet is more than enough room for me to kill you with it. I cut you clean through. Goodbye. Mr. 5 crumpled to the ground dead before exploding, leaving no trace of himself behind. Naruto turned back around to Vivi with a grin. How about that? Crash. Damn it, you two. I am coming over there right now. I'm tired of this crap. The only one that can wreck large amounts of public and private property is me, and that's because I don't pay taxes. Naruto yelled as he saw Luffy and Zoro continuing their scrum across the town. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, as well as checking out the author on fanfiction.net.